Good evening, everyone. The open meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is recorded. Therefore, please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made by Boston City TV, a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications, and is being broadcast on Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and FiOS Channel 962, as well as live streamed on YouTube, where the recording will remain after tonight's meeting. With that, I turn it over to Board Chair Jerry Boyd.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August meeting of the Disability Commission Advisory Board. Happy to be here this evening. Thanks everyone for taking the time. I do know that we probably have board members and members of the public who are enjoying their early August and their summer. But really appreciate everyone's time who's able to make the meeting tonight. And let's start with introductions. Paulette, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. This is Paulette Durrett. I live in the Mattapan section of Boston. I'm an older Black female. I have on a red shirt and eyeglasses.
Great, thank you. And Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Paul Karen. I serve on the executive committee of the Disability Advisory Board and also a supervisor in the Boston Planning Department. I'm a white male with short hair and represent the West End of Boston area. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Paul. Olivia, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name's Olivia Richard. I am the vice chair of the advisory board, and I hail from Brighton. I am a middle-aged white female with short hair and glasses, wearing a blue t-shirt.
Great. Tara, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Carl Richardson. I'm a middle-aged Caucasian male with salt and pepper hair, wearing a maroon polo shirt. I identify as a deaf-blind individual, and I live in the Brighton Center neighborhood.
Great, and sorry for the lack of clarity. I actually meant for Tara to go next, but it's okay, Carl. No problem.
I thought you said Carl. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it was probably my speech or lack.
No, it's my hearing, but it doesn't matter. Thank you.
It doesn't matter as long as we all get to introduce ourselves. Tara, go ahead, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Tara Southard. I'm wearing a blue shirt with glasses. My hair is in a ponytail. I live on the JP Roxbury line, and I am the secretary of the advisory board.
Great. And Zari, would you like to go next, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Zari Amirasemi. I am resident of South Boston. I'm a female with short, grayish, brownish hair. And I have a physical disability. I'm a wheelchair user. And that's it. I'm a member of the board.
Great. And I didn't actually identify where I'm from. My name is Jerry Boyd. I am proud to serve as chair of the advisory board. I am a middle-aged white male with salt and pepper hair. I have kind of a, I guess, foam green polo shirt on, and I am proud to live in the West Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. So thank you, everyone, for those introductions. Commissioner, would you like to introduce yourself now or wait till your report?
Hey, hi. Thanks, Jerry. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen McCosh. I'm the Disability Commissioner and ADA Title II Coordinator for the City of Boston. I am a white female wearing glasses and a white shirt, and I have a background of City Hall on my screen. I also use a wheelchair.
Great. And I believe we have a quorum now. Can you just confirm that for me, Andrea, please?
Yes, I can. Confirmed.
Okay, so because next on the agenda is the approval of the July minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
This is Carl. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as proposed.
And do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, either say aye or just raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. I believe the motion passes unanimously, which is always awesome. And next, we will have a presentation from the MBTA's Office of System-Wide Accessibility with Laura Brailsford, and I see Laura's online as well as several members of your team. So take it away, Laura. Thanks for being here this evening.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jerry, and thanks everyone for the invitation to come and speak tonight. It's great to see so many of you. For those who I haven't had a chance to meet before, I'm Laura Brailsford. I serve as the Assistant General Manager for System-Wide Accessibility at the MBTA. I'm joined tonight by two members of my team, Nicole Tyrone and Glenda Campbell. And Nicole and Glenda, if you'd like to just take a second to introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So my name is Nicole Tyrone. I'm the Manager of Accessible Mobility Coordination and Training Development for System-Wide Accessibility. And thank you so much for extending the invite to this meeting tonight.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Glenda Campbell. I manage the Internal Access Monitoring Program. So that's our Secret Shopper program, very unique program, part of system-wide accessibility. I started out as a monitor myself in 2018, and now have the managing position in 2022. It's very nice to meet you all and hear from you all. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. By far and away, the best thing about working for the T is going to work with my team every day. So I'm really glad Glenda and Nicole were able to join this evening. All right, let me pull up some slides here. So Commissioner Mikosh and Andrea suggested I walk through some highlights of major projects happening throughout the system, particularly those of maybe interest to those of us who live and are traveling around Boston. So tonight's presentation is really a look at those things we're most excited about that are in the pipeline, covering a bunch of different modes of our system, and we'll leave enough time at the end for any questions and feedback that folks may have. All right, so starting off in the world of bus operations, here on the screen we've got an image of two folks getting ready to board a bus with the ramp deployed. One of them is an individual who's blind and using a white cane, and another is a young woman pushing a child in their stroller. So one of the projects we wanted to highlight here is, first let me back up. I think everyone's aware the MBTA has done a lot of work over the years to improve bus service in general, through developing better policies, trainings, and doing a lot of work to make sure that operators are fully held accountable. And we're really proud today to be able to say that our bus service is some of the most reliable and accessible out there in the country. But one area where we know there's room for improvement is on the bus stop side of things. So one effort that's been underway for a few years is a plan to upgrade the least accessible bus stops in our network. Over the last 4 years, we've upgraded over 400 stops. A number of them are in the city of Boston, and we've got an additional 40 planned for this year. In addition, one thing we're really excited about is we just received $15 million in fair share funding, so that's funding from the Millionaire's Tax, to introduce more bus stop shelters and other amenities across another 100 stops. And anywhere we're introducing big amenities like a shelter, we're going in and making sure that those stops are fully accessible, not only the stops themselves, but the paths of travel to the stops. Most of the stops that we serve are located on the property of the city or town that the stop's located in. So often we are coordinating with the city, doing this work on behalf of the city, because we recognize what a benefit it is to our riders. And so just to look at some of the amenities you'll see rolling out over the next few months and years. We've standardized our shelter designs to the full-size shelter you see there in the center of the screen. That comes with coverage on all sides and a bench for bus stops where we don't have a lot of sidewalk width. And we have a narrow shelter, which is illustrated there on the left, that works for sidewalks that are between 7 and 9 feet long. In addition, anywhere we cannot fit a shelter, so anywhere that our sidewalks are more narrow than 7 feet, we are installing benches. And we've settled on a relatively new bench standard that was identified after lots of user testing to make sure we were picking a bench that works for the widest array of people possible. And you see that on the right side of your screen. The other thing we are very excited about is we've redesigned our bus stop signs so that they are much larger and much easier for everyone to see. So you'll see these larger format screens popping up across the system. One other effort that we are particularly excited about is just within the last year, we received approval from the legislature to move forward with the plan to start automatically issuing tickets to drivers who are illegally parked in bus lanes and bus stops. So for the first time ever, we're going to be able to use camera technology that's located on our buses to take photos of license plates of vehicles that are blocking bus stops and issue tickets to the drivers if they were in fact violating the bus stop law. So this is a system that's rolled out in a number of other major cities, and it has resulted in a huge drop in violators. As many folks know here, this is one of the biggest frustrations that those of us who are dependent on bus service experience, where you're waiting at a stop and the bus operator cannot get to the curb because there's a car parked in the stop. We're really hoping that this effort reduces things significantly. So there is, for everyone's awareness, there there is a hearing coming up later this month, just to let everyone know what's going to be happening. If you're interested in attending, we've got all that information on our website. And the photo here on the screen is of a FedEx truck parked in one of our dedicated bus lanes, quite illegally. All right, shifting over to hot topics within station accessibility. This is a photo of a recently renovated station, actually out in Chelsea, where we've now got full high-level platforms and redundant accessible passive travel. So given the audience tonight, I figured it would make sense to focus on the Green Line. We are also doing a ton of work on our commuter rail, although none of the stations in that pipeline are located within the city. So I think the Green Line will likely be of most interest tonight. I should note, although they're not located in Boston, we did just at the beginning of this year upgrade 4 inaccessible stops on the B branch that allow riders to get on and off our trolleys accessibly. But what we're most thrilled to share is that really over the next 2 years, but certainly over the next 5 years, all of the inaccessible stops on the C and B branches are going to be resolved. And towards the end of that 5-year mark, all of the E branch inaccessible stations are going to be resolved, which this is thanks to years of coordination with both Boston and Brookline. It's taken a lot of coordination because we've essentially had to take part of the travel lane on both Comm Ave and Beacon Street so that we can widen those stops, many of which are only about 2 to 3 feet wide today. So C branch is going to go out first. We're likely going to start construction this October, but the B branch is going to follow right behind. And although this station is very different than the others I just mentioned, but I think everyone's aware that Symphony Station is about to move into construction. We're just figuring out some of the timelines as we speak, but we're going to end up with an absolutely beautiful, accessible station with redundant elevators and fully accessible platforms. And on the right here is a rendering of what a portion of that station will look like when it's completed with the head houses at street level. All right, so if you look at all that Green Line work taken together, here we are today in 2025. Believe it or not, we still have 25 inaccessible Green Line stations. But thanks to all the work I just mentioned, by the time we get to 2030, we're projecting that there will only be 2 inaccessible Green Line stations left, and those include Hines and Boylston, which I'm happy to talk more about later if anyone's interested. All right, so again, I'd be remiss if I did not mention the new Green Line trolleys as I was talking about all of these Green Line improvements. So our new Green Line Type 10 car is well on its way to becoming a reality. In fact, we're going to be getting the first pilot car this coming spring. So we'll all be able to actually get on and take some rides on the new pilot car this time next year. The car is 100% low floor with a much more modernized passenger information system. Eventually, thanks to the fact that this will be a fully low floor vehicle, we'll eventually be able to go back and further renovate Green Line stations to raise the platforms so that there's level boarding, very similar to what we have on the red, orange, and blue lines today. And on the left here is a photo of the mock-up that was in town last October. All right, so this is a fairly new graph for our team that I try to show off whenever we can. But I did want to just throw this in here because when you take a look at all of the work that's happening on the Green Line over the next 5 years, and then take a look at all of the work that's happening on the commuter rail to address some inaccessible stations, it's pretty exciting. So this is a line graph that shows that back in 1990, when the ADA was first passed, we only had 21% of our stations were accessible. Fast forward to today, 83% are accessible, which certainly is a lot better. But the thing we're most pumped about is that within just the next 5 years, that number is going to jump up to 93%. I do want to acknowledge that there's a big difference between 93% and 100%. So we're not getting ready to take a breath yet. We know that even when we get to that point in time, we have some huge barriers to remove, and that includes stations like Hines and Boylston, also Bowdoin on the Blue Line, and then certainly, as those of you who use the subway regularly know, we've got a lot of stations that are usable today, but that they're far from ideal, whether it's the size of the elevators at Chinatown, or Davis Square, or the fact that that ramping structure at JFK is so long. We know that eventually we want to go back and make major changes to those big stations. And then we've got all sorts of what I would describe as smaller issues, but still very real ones, like the fact that we still have very noticeable vertical gaps throughout the southwest quarter on the Orange Line, and our long-term goals of going to level boarding on the Green Line. All right, and while we're talking about station accessibility, I just want to zoom in on elevators specifically, and here's an image of one of our newest elevators at Winchester Center Station. And this is a chart depicting our elevator uptime. Something that we've been very proud of, although I want to acknowledge here that we had a major drop in reliability back in 2022, largely due to some residual supply chain challenges coming out of COVID, but that we are back up to what we consider to be our benchmark of 99.4, and working really hard to maintain that and or beat that going forward. But one of the ways that we improve uptime is making sure that we're modernizing units, and while we're at it, trying to build in redundancy wherever we can. So one project that I know is of particular interest to this group, we talked about it a couple years ago, is currently at Jackson Square. We are under construction to fully modernize the existing unit and to construct a brand new elevator, so that by the summer of 2027, we'll have 2 fully new elevators there to serve the station. While we're there, we're also doing some really majorly creative things to address the vertical gaps that I just mentioned. So that's going to be a big step forward as well. We're doing something similar in Central Square, but I'm going to skip that and focus in on the other big Boston project is the enormous undertaking of making the connection between the red and orange lines at Downtown Crossing fully accessible. It's finally happening. We are expecting to have the notice to proceed with construction by the end of this year, meaning that crews would start mobilizing likely late spring, next summer, and this will be a long project given that we can't take Downtown Crossing out of service. So it will be a bit of a chaotic experience out there, but we're working to make sure all of that phasing works for everybody. But at the end of this, we're finally going to have an accessible connection, which has been a very long time coming. And on the screen here is a photo of the rendering for the new unit that will be located at Jackson Square. All right, so one really, really cool thing, two cool things that have happened over the last year related to elevators. We certainly know that no matter how many new elevators we have, and no matter how well maintained they are, they're still going to go out of service every once in a while. And we all need to know when that is so we can plan accordingly. Two things that have happened out of our technology department. First is that there have been a bunch of new large format digital screens deployed into our pre-fair lobby areas. These screens also have an audio feature, so they're fully accessible. And on these screens, you can get all sorts of service information, including elevator uptime and elevator outage information. In addition to that, earlier this year, we released our first official MBTA Go app for both the Apple and Android users. So if you're not using it, definitely check it out. It provides all sorts of information from when your train is arriving, to where your bus stop's located, to if an elevator is out of service. And the team is going to be adding in all sorts of new and interesting functionality over the coming months and years. And on the screen, we've got a photo of somebody using that app, along with a screenshot of the app. All right, here's where I pause to just sort of acknowledge that we know that good accessibility is a lot more than raised platforms and elevators. And so with that in mind, there's a lot of initiatives underway to make sure that we're centering our customers in all sorts of ways. And on the screen is one of our transit ambassadors helping out a wheelchair user in our system. So Nicole introduced herself at the start of the meeting. Nicole has recently joined us. One of her primary roles within the team is helping us build out and design even better, even more trainings for frontline employees, anybody that might have a role in making the system accessible for folks. Just last year, we developed a training for our Operations Control Center, which was really cool. It's sort of the nerve center of the MBTA. And one thing that she and Rob Sampson from our team is working on as we speak is our first ever accessibility training specific for transit police officers. Just as with our bus and subway trainings, all of these trainings include a lot of first-person perspectives from customers with disabilities, which is really essential. And the photo on the screen is of one of our one of the trainers from our training school instructing a group of new bus operators. All right, I'm trying to think of the best way to introduce this. This is an initiative that we've been dreaming up essentially for the last 15 years. When the fare gates that we have in the system today were first introduced in the early 2000s, one piece of feedback the MBTA received right away was, well, wait a second, why do I have to tap my card to activate the gate when on the highway, on the pike, I've got this Easy Pass technology? Why can't we do an Easy Pass solution for fare gates? And the answer for 18 years has been, well, that technology does not exist. And I'm here to say that it's coming. So about 5 years ago, we started working to build the requirement into another contract for a fare gate company to essentially invent this solution. And so we've been working with them ever since to develop this system where if you're wearing a credential either on a lanyard or you can post it or adhere it to part of your wheelchair or clothing, that as you approach the accessible fare gate, the gate opens automatically. We are in the process of testing these gates in the field. There's about 13 located throughout the system as we speak. It probably will not be until about another year, next summer, until these are widely open for public use. But we're feeling really, really good about this and can't wait until we're ready to really show this off. But the Giphy on your left there is yours truly, getting to experience it for the first time. I think in that moment, I had the special Charlie card on a lanyard around my neck. All right, and then speaking of cool technology, we just also wrapped up some very serious testing of accessible wayfinding technology called Navalins. This is a solution that uses these brightly colored QR codes to provide information on how to navigate an indoor or outdoor environment. So with this effort, we're trying to solve the challenge of how does somebody who's blind or have low vision navigate complex indoor MBTA stations and or find bus stops. So our technology team just did 3 months of extensive user testing. They are pulling together their recommendations as we speak. And I expect that by the end of the summer or in the early fall, we'll be announcing the next phase of this project. All right, I also, this here is not a new initiative, but I wanted to make sure we mentioned this because we're joined tonight by Glenda Campbell, who is the Senior Project Coordinator overseeing this effort. But for those that are not aware, Glenda and our team oversee a secret shopper for the program for the MBTA, specifically focused on accessibility. At any point in time, we've got multiple teams of riders out there posing as customers, collecting data on how our operators are doing in terms of complying with all of our rules and training. On average, we monitor over 1,000 trips a quarter, and we get all sorts of really really detailed reports that help us inform decisions and take action as needed. And I think as we head into this year, we're going to be thinking about ways that we can ask our monitors to assess other things throughout our system and stations. And this photo here is of one of our monitors, although please don't reveal his undercover status being secured by a bus operator. All right, as we start to wrap up here, this is a huge effort that we never take for granted, and that is an ongoing goal of expanding our outreach and doing better and deeper engagements. So we now have a mobility center at the MBTA, which is currently located at 1000 Mass Ave. It's actually going to be moving to Quincy next year. And at that center, we have, that's not only where you go to sign up for the ride if you're interested, but we also have a number of professional trainers that work to make sure riders have confidence in using the system. And they also go out and do all sorts of outreach events along with staff from our team. So there's a lot of work happening to just be out in the public as much as possible to make sure folks are aware of all the improvements that I've just been mentioning, but also, even more importantly, to hear how we're doing and take that feedback back to the office. And on the right is a collage of photos of all sorts of different events that we've hosted or been invited to over the last year. All right, I wanted to end here with a particularly important topic that, to be honest, we need your help with, and that is all sorts of efforts to improve the way we're communicating and engaging with cities and towns. Not surprisingly, we really need Boston and Cambridge and all the other cities we serve to do certain things in order to make sure that our bus stops and our stations are accessible. So two of the biggest are making sure that snow removal happens reliably and accessibly, and making sure that when bike lanes are being designed adjacent to bus stops in particular, that the cities are reaching out to the MBTA to coordinate on design so that we're not inadvertently introducing new barriers. Excuse me. So this is something we just need to keep working on because we really rely on each other. All right, my timing is good because I am ready to wrap up here. I really just wanted to say thank you. More than anything, this is a photo from the 35th anniversary March and Rally. We had such a great time, and we're really proud to be out there working with all of you to raise awareness about the importance of accessibility. So I will stop here and take any questions.
Thank you, Laura and team, and thank you for your efforts on making the team more accessible. It's amazing that in just a few short years, we're going to have hopefully 93% accessible system. So I wanted to open it up for any questions from members of the board. Do you have any questions for Laura and her team?
Jerry, this is Andrea. I see Wes has his hand. Oh, and then I saw Carl unmuted.
Sure. Go ahead, Wes.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Laura, for your presentation. It's really exciting to see what's coming, some of these changes that are coming with the MBTA within 5 years. So congratulations on the hard work that you all have been doing over the past several years. And I do have a question about the new elevators. I know that you had mentioned that in some areas, the new elevators, I just wanted to clarify about the new elevators. I'm wondering if they're going to have some clear glass, so that you can actually make it more visible for people who are actually in the elevator to see what's happening outside the elevator and see people in the elevator. Because if someone's stuck in the elevator, you want to make sure that people can see that you're stuck and can actually call for help and ensure that someone will come help you.
Yeah, that is a great question, and the answer is absolutely. Our new elevator standard, which was developed back in 2009, requires that for all new elevators or elevators that are being fully modernized, like at Jackson, that there be as much glass and transparency as possible. So you'll see in a lot of our newer units that there is a lot of transparency through that door, the elevator door, as well as on all three other sides of the cab. You're absolutely right that not only does it allow us to see somebody who may have gotten stuck, it's also just really comforting as a rider. If you're waiting for the elevator to arrive at your floor level, you can see whether or not there's anyone in there in advance. And just for a sense of personal security, know what's on the other side of the door before it opens. So we consider that to be a huge safety requirement, as well as just a better customer experience.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Carl.
So, hello Laura, hello members of the System-Wide Access team. First of all, I want to commend you on all the hard work that you guys are doing. I know how hard it is to do accessibility on an old architectural platform, if you will. My question is this: the paratransit program doesn't necessarily fall under paratransit. Is that correct? I mean, the RIDE program doesn't necessarily fall under system-wide access. Is that correct?
That is correct, Carl. So technically speaking, our team is responsible for what we call the fixed route system, which is everything except paratransit service, but we certainly do work closely with Michelle Styler and her team at the RIDE.
Okay, thank you.
And Zari, I see that you have your hand up.
Thank you. And thank you, Laura. This is great. My question is about evacuation plans in case of emergency. We recently saw what had happened in New York, the train transit system. And I kept thinking, wow, if this was in the middle of a tunnel, how would someone be taken care of? So is there I'm sure there's a plan, but is this something that you could share with us?
Sure. So emergency response and preparedness is something we've been working on for a long time now. So roughly 10 years ago, we rolled out a training program specifically focused on how to assist folks who may need additional assistance during an emergency, including an evacuation. And since that point in time, we've added details to those guidelines and sort of taken pieces of that training and integrated it into training for bus operators, subway operators, and basically every job category at the MBTA. I'm happy at any point to share all the details on that training, but a few things to be aware of. We emphasize the fact that people with different disabilities are going to need different types of assistance, and we work to provide guidance on how that might play out in various emergency scenarios. We also, at least twice a year, there is a full-scale emergency drill that is coordinated between the MBTA, MassDOT, and at least one or two local cities and towns. In fact, we're getting ready to do a big drill later this summer on the Blue Line. And as part of each of those drills, we invite people with real disabilities to come in and be participants. And my staff also participates to evaluate how the team does during the drill in terms of following all the trainings and guidelines. As I'm sure many folks here saw on the news just a few weeks ago, there was a very scary situation where we had to take a train in the Blue Line, on the Blue Line out of service, right while it was under the Boston Harbor, in between Aquarium and Maverick stations, because there were some down cables in the tunnel. Over 450 people had to be evacuated. What you might not have heard is that at least a couple people on that train had temporary disabilities, and they were not able to walk through the tunnel on their own. What was wonderful to see after the fact was that thanks to all of the training that's been pulled together, the first responders had access to specialized equipment that allowed them to deploy what's called a Nolan cart, which basically is a platform that sits right on top of the tracks. And they're able to power that platform down the tunnel without any third rail access, so that they can assist people who need the help onto the platform and then transport them to the point of exit and then help them out from there. So it was really great to see in this real life scenario that certainly nobody wanted to happen, that the equipment that we have and the training that we put together actually played out in the appropriate way. So again, I'd be happy to talk at a later point and sort of more of those details. But yeah, definitely something we think about a lot.
Thank you.
Tara, I know that you have your hand up.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to take a minute to thank both you and your team because at the Jackson Square Station train station, that one of the ambassadors came up to me a couple weeks ago and had a conversation with me explaining all the changes and stuff that I was going to be seeing at the station, and I had no idea about them, even though I'm a frequent visitor. So I wanted to thank you on that. And then my question is there any discussion on the vertical gap for Roxbury Crossing?
Okay. So the short answer is we don't have a short-term solution for Roxbury. We do have projects underway at Jackson, at Ruggles, and there will likely be one happening at Forest Hills within the next several months. What we've been trying to do at some of these more complicated orange line stations is figure out creative ways to solve the vertical gap that doesn't require completely dismantling the entire platform. or digging up the entire track bed, because in many ways, due to the age of the station, that's what it would take to get it done correctly. So what we're doing at Jackson is we're experimenting with a new platform overlay and making some track adjustments. We're going to be doing the same thing at Ruggles. And at Forest Hills, we're trying out a different experiment where we're going to be installing a different type of track that's a little less high. If that's a success, that's something we may be able to roll out more easily at other stations like Roxbury and Green Street and other stations along the Southwest Corridor. But at the moment, we don't have any immediate solutions for Roxbury Crossing.
Great question. Great questions, everyone. Do we have any other questions for Laura and her team? Andrea, did I miss anybody?
This is Andrea. I don't see any other hands up, but I just want to say one thing that I've definitely used is the contact us form on the T's website to mention both when bus drivers don't pull all the way to the curb and when they do a really good job pulling all the way to the curb, because I know complimenting our bus drivers is a good way to reinforce that positive behavior. Laura, I don't know if you want to say anything about how those like contact us forms get routed to your office?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrea. It's something I really should include at the end of every presentation. So we definitely, if anything in the system does not go well, or if something goes really well and you want to talk to us about it, there's two good ways to let us know. The first is what Andrea mentioned, is on our website. If you go to mbta.com, at the top of the screen, you'll see a link to quote-unquote contact us. And if you navigate to the submit feedback link, there's a form there that you can fill out. If the complaint is anything related to accessibility, my team gets a copy of it, and what we do, Lisa Weber, who many of you know in particular, she will work with the appropriate area, whether it's bus operations or subway operations, to make sure there's a full investigation and that appropriate action is taken. And just as importantly, that you get a response back. If you don't want to use our website or don't have access to it, another great way is by calling our call center, which is 222-3200. Basically goes to the same database and it's the same process. If it's accessibility related, Lisa will get a copy and make sure that it's handled appropriately.
Great. And I see, Wes, you had do you want to share your comment? I know you put something in the chat. Do you want to share your comment or just direct folks to the chat?
This is Wes. You can go ahead and read if you like.
Oh, you want me to read it? Okay. This is Wes. I actually thought about that the other day as a bus was turning around a corner that had a visible green light for pedestrian to walk, but did not know where to find the form to file a complaint, and that bus driver almost hit me. That's the end of the comment.
Yeah, so that's definitely something, if anything on the system happens that you feel should not have, or you've got a question about it, we'd always ask you to err on the side of letting us know so that we can follow up and try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
So Wes, are you saying you don't know where the form is to file a comment or a complaint or a commendation? And Andrea sent in the chat, Andrea shared in the chat a link to the Contact Us area of the MBTA website where you can put your, the specific information on there. And again, if you mark an accessibility concern, someone from Lisa and or the appropriate folks from Laura's office will work with that bus operations or whatever mode the issue was, so that you get a proper response. Do you see that? Do you see that link in the chat, Wes?
This is Wes, I see it, yep. Thanks very much.
Great.
I will fill it out.
Great.
And I'll make sure it gets sent in. Thanks very much.
Awesome, great. And I know from personal experience, you can attach a photo or any supporting documentation along with your issues. So,
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
well, again, thank you, Laura, and thank you, team. It was great sharing ADA with you guys, and it is amazing to see how many team members and colleagues and coworkers you had participating in the event. And it was, I mean, I think it goes to show how far we've come. You know, that the general manager Ng, you know, was a featured speaker at the event as well, and I really appreciate that. And again, it just goes to your hard work and the hard work of your team to make accessibility.
And again, thank you to everybody here for the success of that event, and to Jerry, the work that you and all the other folks who are part of our tag and all the other informal means of advocating for accessibility at the T. We would not be here without that. So, right back at you.
Sure. So, and we'll keep advocating. You know that. So, so that's great. Thank you, everyone. Really.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye now. Next on the agenda, I believe, is my report. And I just had, again, I wanted to, and I'm sure the commissioner's probably going to touch on this too, but I wanted to say publicly and formally that I thought the ADA event was a huge success. It was great to be a part of 1,400 other advocates and allies for people with disabilities. You know, there was a really, really palpable energy to the event, and it was just really, really energizing and heartening to be, you know, with the community in that way, and have our voices heard loud and proud. And you know, I want to thank the commissioner and Andrea and you know, and everyone on the team that helped coordinate and make it happen, and also, you know, just everybody at City Hall for you know, making the event such a success from the city perspective. I know, you know, getting permits and you know, helping you know, shut streets down and Tremont Street. I know, you know, it must have taken a tremendous amount of work. So I really, really, you know, want to, you know, just say thank you for that. And you know, here's to many more successful ADAs in the future. It's always a day that I look forward to, but definitely the 35th I will not forget anytime soon. So thank you very much for that. And with that, we'll move on to the commissioner's report.
Thanks, Jerry. Andrea has my slides, so I think she'll pull them up for me.
She's gonna walk away. I'm gonna try to find them as quickly as I can.
Oh, okay.
It's giving me a 400 error message. Did you hear that?
Well, I can actually jump in because the first item is ADA 35. So to follow up on Jerry's comments, and also Laura's wonderful picture, we had 1,400 people attend from over 60 organizations. And I think I saw all the board members who were in this meeting at the event. I know I saw Paul, Tara, I saw Carl, I saw Jerry, I saw Zari. I think Wes and Paulette, you were there as well. And then other board members who may not be here tonight, some probably attended. So really appreciate the turnout and the support from our board. It was a really positive and uplifting event, especially during these troubled times that we find ourselves in. So we were really pleasantly surprised to see how many people made it to City Hall Plaza. The picture from Laura shows you all the people just from the T who were there. So there were hundreds and hundreds, if not over 1,000 people on the plaza. And then we did the march along Tremont Street, all the way to the rally at the Embrace Memorial. So wonderful turnout, wonderful event. Thank you all. Again, there's tons of pictures online. If you click on the link that is on my slide deck, you'll see some more pictures and videos. The next event I wanted to talk about was Beach Ability. That is an event that's held every year. Oh, here's Andrea. She'll be sharing my slide deck. So I attended the Beach Abilities event last Saturday. It was held at Constitution Beach in East Boston. It's hosted by Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and Triangle is the main person that brings people with disabilities. They're the main group, and they had dozens of people there who tried out sand and water wheelchairs, accessible kayaking, adaptive games. There was food, music, lots of activities. So it was a really fun day. And DCR provides sand and water wheelchairs across their beaches across the state. They also have a really strong universal access program in state parks, as well as beaches. So I would encourage everyone to look on their website. Also, other municipalities around the state have beach wheelchairs that you can get. So if you're interested in one, I would encourage you to contact the local town or look on DCR's website for more information. Colleen is still working on her Disability Commission library tour at the branches throughout the city. Colleen, I know you're on. Would you want to give a real quick overview of the events you've held so far and any upcoming ones? I just want to get a drink of water.
Yes, okay, sorry. So the goal is that we're going to visit every branch library in 2025. We visited about half, and in September we have, we're anticipating we're going to have 5 visits. 3 are already scheduled, 3.5. So we're going to be going to the Grove Hall Library in September. We're going to be going to Chinatown, Codman Square, and Eggleston. And some of them are going to actually be piggybacking off of housing clinics that the Office of Housing Stability is holding at the library. So especially for those visits, if you know people, because I know people in the disability community often have a lot of questions about housing and are looking for those resources, please send them my way because I can make sure they know about the ones that are going to be held at the library. On the same day, we'll be having the Disability Outreach Tour. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Colleen. And then one other thing, just as an update from our department is, again, I've mentioned this before, but we do a monthly call with other disability commissions across the state, many in the greater Boston area, to talk about best practices and challenges. So it's mainly made up of board members and commissioners from other cities and towns. It's not usually staff, but from our department, our staff attend, but we'd love to have some advisory board members attend if they're available. I know a few of you have expressed interest, so please, if you have time, we'd love for you to go. We'll go to the next slide. So I wanted to give some information on opportunities for board members to get involved in different city projects. So there are 2 important city council hearings coming up in the next few weeks. One is next week. It's a hearing on accessibility and safety of sidewalks. It's next Wednesday, August 13th at 10 a.m. It's in Boston City Hall. It will be held in person, but you can also watch, you can live stream it on TV or online, and you can participate virtually if you want to give testimony. So this first one on accessibility and safety of sidewalks is going to look at how the city's doing as far as the curb ramp program that we're working on, how we handle complaints, how we resolve issues, and what some of the barriers are. So if anyone's interested in watching, you can tune in to the live stream, or if you want to participate virtually, you can contact the contact person at the bottom section of the slide, Shane L. Pack at boston.gov. The email address is shane.pac@boston.gov, and you can provide your testimony that way. You can also join virtually that way. I'm feeling a little under the weather. The other city council hearing coming up is on accessibility in Boston City Hall, and that's looking at the interior mezzanine stairs, which are challenging. We did just have a platform lift installed there 3 years ago, so it is more accessible now, but it still has a lot of challenges. So some different things that we're going to talk about during that hearing. I've been asked to be on the panel for both of these hearings, so I'll be speaking, but certainly welcome anyone on the board and members of the public to attend as well. That one is September 11th at 2 p.m. So please join and offer testimony if you're interested. And we'll go to the next slide, which I think that's it. I had a short report this month. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Let's see. Oh, Wesley, please, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do have a question about the hearing for the sidewalks. Can you tell me, will that also impact the Blue Bike docking stations? Will that be on the agenda there?
So Blue Bikes are specifically on the agenda that I've seen, and the hearing notice is included in the links. But certainly Blue Bikes are an issue on sidewalks. So we know there've been reports, in the news about sidewalk safety, including electric bikes, and Blue Bikes do have some electric bikes for rent. So, and also the location of the stations on sidewalks is something we pay attention to. So if you wanted to give input on Blue Bikes, you could certainly do that in regards to sidewalks, but it's not specifically on the agenda. That doesn't mean that people who come live to the chamber can't ask questions about it. It's just not something that is specifically listed as being part of the hearing.
Okay, sure. I'm going to give that some thought. If there's anything else. If so, what I might actually do is send an email with my thoughts.
That's great. Paulette, did I see you raise your hand?
So did we have the focus group that some of us participated in this past month, or was it last month?
The focus group on the planning department.
Yes.
Yes, that was this past month.
Oh, okay.
I should have put that in my my report, so thank you. I can talk briefly about that. Can I just ask if anyone has any further questions on what I've said so far, just before we move on? No? Okay. So the planning department did host a focus group for people with disabilities to get input on ways that they can increase engagement of the disability community for our projects. And again, this is something that I talk about at many meetings. There are so many ways that you can give input on new developments. You can attend community meetings, you can provide written or verbal input at the hearings, at the community meetings, and we know that development across Boston is booming, not only downtown, but in the neighborhoods. So if there's anything popping up in your neighborhood that you see a construction site about, you're curious about, you can always email us and find out the address and ways you can get involved. So the planning department also has a very systematic way of looking at projects and assessing them. And it includes all these things I just talked about, like community meetings and ways to give input. And they really want to get people with disabilities involved in this system. So they held a focus group to see like how they could better reach the disability community. I wasn't able to attend, but Colleen and Andrea went, and I know they said, I think 6 people from the community were there, including at least 1 board member, if not 2. I don't know if Andrea or Colleen want to give any overview of the meeting.
This is Andrea. Paulette was one of our attendees, so I might kick it to her to give her impressions of how the focus group went.
Well, I thought it was interesting that, that we were included in that discussion, because I think that sometimes when projects are going forward, by the time they bring it to the community, they've already made up their mind about how it's going to roll out. And I think that that's some of the reason that we don't get as much community participation. So I appreciated being part of that discussion so that they could think about some of the things that we mentioned to them moving forward.
Yeah, thanks for that input, Paulette. And I will definitely agree with you that I know the community feels like by the time they're asked for input, decisions already been made. I completely agree with that. In reality, there is really still a lot of time to make changes after community meetings, and certainly my office is involved from the beginning. Sarah and Patricia go to these meetings before a shovel is even put in the ground. When they're just at the beginning of design, we give a lot of input. But having the community back us up is so important, because they'll listen to us because we're staff and they have to listen to us and we have to say these things. But when they hear from the community that how it's really going to impact your life, they have to pay attention to that. And we really believe they do. So the more input we get from community members, the more impactful it's going to be on these projects. So thank you for making the time to attend. And I believe Richard also attended from the board.
Yes, I think so.
Commissioner, I just have a follow-up. I'm glad they had a focus group. Is there going to be a final report? I mean, this is Jerry, by the way. I'm sorry to not identify myself, but is there going to be a report or next steps after the focus group?
So the Article 80 process is undergoing a whole revision. So this was just one piece of it. They're trying to make it more user-friendly, easier to understand, and try to, improve the whole process. It's a very old process that's been existing for a while. So I know when that is completed, there'll be final reports, but how did you leave it at the end of the meeting, Andrea?
Yeah, this is Andrea. So this was one of a series of focus groups that they've done. I believe it's, if not the last, one of the last ones. They've met with community groups. They did a youth-focused one with high schoolers, all kinds of things. My understanding is that what will come out is a new standard operating procedure for engagement. So I don't think it'll take the form of a report so much as a published guide for developers saying, here are the steps that you must take if you're going to, submit a development to the Article 80 review process. Here are the community engagement steps that you're required to take as a proponent of a project. So my understanding is it will be a public document, so we as residents and developers are all on the same page to know that a developer is required to do, if not every one of these steps, I think a menu, like you can pick 2 of 5 or whatever, but the idea is that it will create a publicly transparent list of expectations for what developers have to do as part of that process.
Great, thank you for that clarification. And thank you for everyone who participated. Any other questions from the commissioner, for the commissioner, before we move on? Seeing none, I will move on with the agenda, and I believe the next item on the agenda is the Architectural Access Report with Patricia Mendez. So go ahead, Patricia.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Hello, everyone. My name is Patricia Mendez. I'm the Director of Architectural Access for the Disabilities Commission. I have short dark hair and glasses, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt. Today in my report, I'm going to briefly talk about Downtown Crossing. More specifically, I'm going to talk about Temple Place. Recently, we received a report of some areas of the sidewalk that needed repairs, and that came in the form of a complaint to the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board. Temple Place is the street houses the headquarters for BCIL, Boston Center for Independent Living, and therefore there is a lot of constituents with disabilities that use that street. So the existing sidewalk conditions, present some unique challenges that I want to talk about. Some of them is that there are several jurisdictions in this block, and the sidewalks are owned by multiple parties, including the City of Boston, the MBTA, and private property owners. The sidewalk also has different kind of materials which have deteriorated and need repair. Some of the materials are concrete, brick, granite, asphalt, and even metal grates. Underground, there is a bunch of things. There are electrical vaults, there are MBTA tunnels, and there are areaways. Areaways are old basements of adjacent buildings that extend under the public right-of-way, so under the sidewalk. And they are owned by private property owners, which makes repair very difficult for the city because they're private property under there. We're going to show a short video just about what the areaways are. But first I'm going to finish talking about Temple Place and the repairs, and then we're going to play the video, if that's okay. So after we received the complaint about repairs needed for Temple Place, our commission and the street cabinet got together, had a conversation, and then the street cabinet sent crews right away to conduct repairs to address the issues flagged in the formal MAB complaint. We received photos of the before, and we received photos of the after the sidewalk received the repairs, and I'm going to show that in the next slide. And I also want to share the long-term solution. So the small concrete repairs that I'm going to show in the picture, those are the short-term solutions. And the long-term solution is that the street cabinet is planning a capital improvement project that includes a bunch of streets in the Downtown Crossing. And that includes Temple Place, Bromfield Street, School Street, Washington Street, and a handful of other streets in the other side of Washington Street. And this project is in the early stages. So the early stage is called the concept design phase. Next slide, please. Okay. This is Temple's Place short-term repairs, the before and after. On the left, we have a picture of the before showing the concrete sidewalk with some deterioration on the concrete, and it also shows a piece of the pedestrian crossing with the white markings, and also a metal grate that looks like a drain, and also some deteriorated concrete between the metal grate and the sidewalk. The next picture in the middle is one of the after photos, and it's showing the concrete repairs on the concrete sidewalk. And the next photo on the right is also an after photo, and it shows the concrete repairs along the sidewalk of Temple Place. Okay, now we should go back one slide and watch the short video on areaways.
This is Andrea. Apologies, the sound is not playing, so give me 1 second to figure that out.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, I figured it out. Let's see if this works. Getting around Boston, you might actually be above someone's basement. We call these hollow sidewalks areaways.
Unlike with regular sidewalks, the city cannot repair areaway sidewalks without collaborating closely with building owners.
It's vital that we do, because they have become some of the least accessible sidewalks in the city.
Some are hard to miss, like old coal holes, but others are difficult to spot. Some areaway owners don't know they're there. Recently, we've been experimenting with ground-penetrating radar, which detects voids underground via electromagnetic waves.
Following this promising pilot, we will create a more complete picture of Boston's underground, engage with owners, and begin repairing these neglected sidewalks.
Yay! Thank you, Andrea. And that concludes the report for today, and I'm happy to take questions on what I just talked about.
Thank you, Patricia, very much. And Andrea, did I hear a familiar voice in that video?
This is Andrea. You have a sharp ear, Jerry. You did. Some of those words were me.
Great. So I guess my question would be, what's the next step after the video? Are you, are there next steps? You know.
This is Andrea. The next steps from that video are at a couple different places across the city where we are, now that we have the ground penetrating radar and know there's an areaway, there is a whole bunch of meetings and conversations and bringing engineers together to fix those areaways. Basically, there's a new process internally at City Hall to coordinate the 6 different departments that need to be in touch with these property owners in order to actually fix the sidewalks. And so Kingston and Summer / Otis and Summer, Downtown Crossing should be getting some repairs soon under this new process. And the reason Patricia brought them up, Temple Place, as well as School Street, also part of the Downtown Crossing reconstruction project. Also lots of areaways, including one that's 3 stories deep. Yeah, so there are lots of places downtown that should be getting repairs after probably decades of you all noticing that they need them, is really the next steps.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions on the architectural access report from the advisory board? Seeing none, I guess we'll say thank you to Patricia for always a very thorough report, and thank you and Sarah and the team for always looking out for our interests at the with these projects. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Jerry. Thank you, everyone.
Next up on the agenda is the board member engagement shout outs. This is the time where we get to highlight either events we've been to, meetings we've attended, or just the work that we've done between last meeting and this one, if anyone has anything to share. Go ahead, Carl.
So there's a couple of things I've been working on. One, the first thing is on autonomous vehicles. Last week I attended 2 weeks ago now, I attended the July 24th hearing at the Boston City Hall in the City Council chambers, where they had a hearing on whether or not they should allow autonomous vehicles in the city of Boston. I obviously was approaching it from, it would be good for the disability community at large. I was a little disappointed on how the hearing went, because they gave a large panel to the union. They gave many of the union members unlimited time to testify. Then they broke for a press conference where I sat in the city conference hall alone, waiting for them to come back so I could then testify. It was a little heavy and slanted, and the city councilor made it very clear from the very beginning, before even those of us with disabilities could testify, that they weren't going to allow autonomous vehicles because they're worried about losing union jobs. So I have written to some of the city councilors asking them to keep an open mind. Yes, they should consider employment for unions, but also they should consider employment for people with disabilities, because the unemployment rate among the blind community is 70%, among the disability community at large, it's anywhere between 30 and 40%. Autonomous vehicles would be a great way to lower that employment. I mean, we too want the same ability that everybody else does, which is to provide for our families. So I was a little disappointed. I've written since then an op-ed piece to the Boston Globe. I'm hoping it gets accepted. So that's one thing. And I'm hoping that someday I approach Jerry and the executive team about potentially having Waymo come in to just discuss how autonomous vehicles can help people with disabilities. I'm not asking the advisory board to have an opinion or make a decision. You can certainly ask them all the questions you want. I'm just asking for the advisory board to listen and maybe keep an open mind. Okay, that's one thing that I've been doing. The second thing is, lately, I don't know what's going on, but in the last 6 months, I've had several denials with service animals on shared transportation, mainly through the Uber Flex program, which means it's part of the RIDE program. I've been trying to figure out how to make sure that drivers are penalized for violating our civil rights, because it's both federal and state legislation. I haven't figured it out yet. I can't get the police to enforce it because they don't have legal jurisdiction to do so. I can't get the MBTA to do it because they said that Uber won't share their information. I can't get Uber to do it because they won't share the results of the investigation. I've filed complaints with MCAD. It's been 6 months. It's very onerous. Now, I knew this would happen, and I probably would not get anywhere, even though we already have laws on the books saying this. It is against the law, and the driver can be fined $100 to $300, but I can't figure out who does it. I knew this would happen when I pursued this. So I have filed complaint with MCAD. I will be mediating with, and I've sued both the MBTA and the and I'm not looking for any financial matter. I've already turned down money that Uber offered me. I don't want a dime. I want them to change their policy, that they'll share the names of the drivers, or at least let us know that they've taken action. And I'm also working with State Senator Joan Lovely, who's going to be filing some legislation on fining shared transportation drivers significantly, and also changing the jurisdiction so that the police, they're a little worried about that one, but we've had Senate and House Counsel write the bill with me and Senator Lovely to change the rules that the police have jurisdiction, so if you call the police, they can come, they can find the ticket. So those are the two things that I have been working, along with the other stuff I do, but those are two things of areas of interest I just wanted to bring to the attention of the Disability Advisory Board and Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, and I'm very disappointed to hear about the service animal refusal again. You know, I know in wearing one of my other hats involved with the Riders Transportation Access Group, I did know that they were they had like kind of a subgroup working on this issue, and I've been at meetings myself with representatives from Uber and Lyft where they said they take this matter very seriously, and
they do. They have a zero. So they say they have a zero tolerance policy, but they won't share with you what they did. They say they'll investigate it, and that's all. They'll leave it at that. They said they can't share the results of the investigation, so I have no idea of knowing whether they found cause or did not find cause.
What can we do to as a board to support this issue and to bring?
How about if I send the board the list of the bills and going on from there? I'm still figuring. Oh, the other thing you should know is I've hired Christine Griffin to represent, to be my counsel when I do go to MCAD and talk to Uber and the MBTA to mediate. So that and those of you who don't know Christine Griffin, she was the former executive director of DLC and the former assistant secretary of Health and Human Services under the Patrick administration that oversaw the disability cluster.
Great. Please let us, please do forward those bills, and if we can write letters of support, as an advisory board and as individuals, I'm sure we would do that. And thank you for your advocacy on this issue. And please keep us updated if there's new and different ways for us to support you in this work as well. I heard that Olivia and Tara might have some things that they want to share.
I know Olivia had her hand up first, so I'll give her the floor first, if she's still here.
I'm still here. Sorry, I've been having technical issues all night with
You're not the only one.
Wi-Fi. So I'll be doing a presentation to the Massachusetts Housing Partnership on Disability Pride. It's part of their Lunch and Learn series on Wednesday the 20th of August. So that'll be fun. A good chance to get out advocacy information, more about BCIL and their activities, and just life as a person with a disability in Boston.
That's great, Olivia. Thank you so much for sharing. Tara, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tara, for those who don't know. So aside from disability advocacy, I also volunteer for the Department of Children and Family Services. And last month, which coordinated with ADA Day, there was a training for us volunteers that focused on disability, which I was very excited to attend. And it was presented by the Director of Disability Services for Massachusetts, so the whole state. And it was really interesting. So Massachusetts is the first state to implement a disability policy in child welfare. And they trained all of their social workers to both help assess as well as provide accommodations. And not only did they speak largely about children with disabilities, but also with parents with disabilities, which I thought was really cool because I know a lot who are, and I know the struggles that they can have. with DCF. And there are many regions here in Massachusetts, and there is actually a disability specialist in every single region. So if anybody ever wants to know more, have any questions, I now have the contacts on who to reach out to. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Tara, for doing that important work with Department of Children and Families. And if you want to share more about what you do, please feel free to do so at future meetings. So, any other interesting things that folks would like to share? Not going to put anyone on the spot. Hearing none, I guess we'll move to the next part of the agenda, or seeing none. Andrea, right? No hands up that I'm missing, right?
That is correct. I am not seeing any other hands.
Great. Thank you. So next on the agenda would be old business. We have two things under old business. The court captioning state bill. The specific item regarding that was whether to have the advisory board write a letter in support of keeping the court reporters live and not AI based in that bill. I guess there's a section of the bill that would allow AI to replace live court reporters, and we were going to take it up under old business this month. So, Andrea, I don't know if you want to share anything. I know we touched on it at a prior exec board meeting. If you want to, just catch us up to speed again on it, and we can talk about it.
Absolutely. So this is a bill that was brought to us by the Massachusetts State Court Reporters Association. It is a bill that raises the reimbursement rate for stenographers up from where it currently is, which is $3 per page, where it's been from 1988. The bill's been introduced a few different times, and one of the things that's also in the bill is taking out the word stenographer to allow for different ways of transcribing audio recordings. So one of the concerns that the Court Reporters Association brought to us is that stenographers have specific training and official court reporters have specific training that the other people who might be allowed to do court reporting would not necessarily have if this bill were to pass. And their concern is that the quality of the transcripts would be much poorer, including some high-profile examples of people who had no access essentially to the transcript because there wasn't a human in the room that heard it and the machine didn't pick it up.
You just get my text?
And so the machine that was recording in the room didn't pick up someone who was soft-spoken, and there simply wasn't a transcript of that day. Those types of issues are the ones that the Court Reporters Association feel is a huge potential challenge for folks who are court involved. So they reached out to the board requesting certainly support for the raise, but keeping the word stenographer and the requirement for a human court reporter as it currently is.
Did we clarify, Andrea, that if we support amending that language, that wouldn't necessarily mean that we're voting to vote no asking to vote no on the bill, because the entire bill itself is around, having hybrid meetings and accessible public meetings, correct?
So I'm not sure exactly what the requirements all are for courts as opposed to open public meetings. But yes, the board could certainly write really anything in their letter about what they do or do not support related to this bill. Again, my understanding from the Court Reporters Association is that they have written letters to legislators saying, you know, we partially support this, we support the raise, but we have concerns about these other language, and we want you to eliminate or change these lines, but not others. So that's certainly something you all could do as well, is say we support this, but not this. We want you to have more hearings on this, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Do we know, and Carl, you may know this, but do we know where the bill stands currently?
That's what I was gonna ask. I've never looked at the text of the bill, but if you give me the bill number, I can let you know in about 30 seconds.
I believe it is H1649.
Got it. I'll mute myself and take a look.
And then Wes has his hand up, Jerry.
Hand up? Wes has his hand up?
Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, I think, thank you very much for the update on that. I think at the last board meeting, I addressed this issue or this question. I think the concern is that AI use with court reporting The question is about what is the role of a stenographer if AI is going to be the method, right? Court agencies don't specifically have, they won't be able to give any assistance to AI, right? So you need human assistance. And so with this bill, it doesn't, the language in the bill doesn't seem clear about how that's going to all work. So really, I think I support that complaint in general because the court needs to be able to, they want to have AI as a form of support, but also so I think the court agencies are generally against or opposed to the idea of utilizing AI for these documents.
Yeah, again, let me pull up.
The court reporters themselves are against it.
Yep, so let me pull up one of the emails I got from the Court Reporters Association. So with a little background, the letter says, with the advance of audio recording, official court reporters have been gradually replaced over the last several decades, and technically in 2018, official court reporters were terminated. And the state created the Office of Transcription Services to manage audio recordings, establish protocols, recruit, vet, and hire approved court transcribers. And so there may not always be a person in the room, so says we must deal with low audio, soft-spoken speakers, noise interruptions. We spend extra time researching case law and technical terminology. The existing 12 ACTs that are here in the state include stenographers, voice writers, digital reporters, and legal transcriptionists. But I guess there is a company that is trying to come into the state that does not currently here, and they bring digital recorders, they use speech-to-text recognition to transcribe the events, not, the people themselves. The transcribers themselves were not present at the event. They don't keep track of, they don't have like care, custody, and control of the audio, and that's the concern. It's not so much that AI itself is being considered. It's this concern that people who are not trained and certified would be allowed to come in with recorders and then, send the recording off.
So,
just reiterating what I've been told, so.
It looks like there's...
And this is just, if I could respond, the email doesn't specify how the reporters will address this transition to this technology.
This is Carl.
Well, Wes, was that a question, Wes?
This is Wes. That's my question. That's my point, is that it isn't addressed in the bill, and that's my concern.
Okay, point well taken. Carl, you had a...
Yeah, it looks like there was a hearing back in April. I don't know what the results of what the finding was. It probably hasn't been reported out of committee, but this bill has already been heard back in mid-April. So if we do decide to do something, we have to do it sooner than later.
Okay.
I would support the pay increase. I would even support, if we decide to do something, the pay increase. I would even support the changing of the word stenographer. I worry about changing, I worry about, I hear some of Weston's concern how we're going to deal with the technology, but usually that stuff isn't in the bill. That stuff usually bills are very short and not too long usually, and then that stuff gets worked out. But I would certainly support the pay increase, because the fact that they haven't gotten a pay increase in almost 40 years is ridiculous. And stenographer does narrowly define what we think of, and it's gone much beyond that. So if the committee wants to do something, I would support those two things in the letter.
Do you want to make a motion, Carl?
I don't know that I want to make a motion unless I feel like the rest of the commission is behind this.
Do we have any other comments or questions or concerns from any member of the other members of the advisory board?
Well, I can go ahead and make a motion, and we can see if it votes. I make a motion that we do draft the letter, but that we keep it defined to the pay increase and changing the terminology so that it gives the writers more flexibility.
So supporting what the Court Reporters Association recommended, and having actual transcribers and whatnot?
Well, that's tricky, because even I'm using AI at the State House now. So, and even CNN and television network, it's not perfect, and it's not as good as human caption writers. So it's,
Carl, just to clarify, one of the things that the Court Reporters Association has asked to change about the bill is to keep certified in front of the word transcriber or stenographer.
To use what again, Andrea?
Certified.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for clarifying that. Yet again, you mentioned that earlier. Thank you.
So I heard a motion to write a letter supporting the increased reimbursement rate and encouraging the legislature to keep the word certified in the law. Was that what you said, Carl?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. Great. Any seconds to that motion? You need a second, I believe, for it to move forward.
This is Paul. I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor of writing the letter as stipulated in the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody else? Any nays?
Yeah.
Any nays?
This is Wes. Wes is saying I'm abstaining.
Okay, I was going to get to the
I just feel
abstentions.
like, yeah, I feel like the technology issues are, I don't know, it's just too complicated, so I'm abstaining.
Okay. Any other nays or abstentions?
Hi, this is Zari. I'm abstaining as well.
Okay, any other comments? Olivia or Tara, you abstaining?
I believe I heard ayes from both Olivia and Tara.
Oh, okay. How many, so, somebody tabulate those for me. Does the motion pass or not?
This is Andrea. I count 5 ayes and 2 abstentions.
So would that technically pass?
Yes, it would.
Okay, I guess I'll work with Andrea to draft a letter in support of the court reporter's amendments to the legislation, or the letter in support for the court reporters. So, great, thank you. And we had one other item under new old business, I should say, is accessible trails for all. Again, Andrea, could you remind us what that item was?
Absolutely. This is Andrea, and this is an update from a coalition that presented to you all more than a year ago at this point. And you all wrote a letter in support of some proposed legislation that they titled the Accessible Trails for All Bill. The bill proposed a number of things, including creating a task force to assess the accessibility of trails across the DCR or state park system, as well as dedicate some funding to making accessibility upgrades to those trails. So as you may, yep.
The bill did not pass last term, and which is why it has a new bill number this term.
Yes, thank you, Carl. One update that I believe I provided a few months ago was that the governor did appoint the task force. She didn't require legislative authority to do so. She was able to create it. It is meeting. But the bill that would route additional funding has not yet passed. It was attempted to be added as an amendment to a larger funding bill called an environmental bond bill, but it did not get added. And so they are once again this session trying to pass that bill. So they sent me that update for you.
Bill number for that, Andrea?
I had it in front of me. No, but I will email you when I find it.
So do we need to, basically we need to write another letter of support? Is that what it seems like?
If you would like to, yes.
Any motions to write a letter in support of accessible trails for all?
I make the motion.
Any seconds?
And second, Wes.
Great. So we have a motion on the floor. We'll vote on whether to write a letter of support in favor of accessible trails for all, with the new bill information that either Andrea and or Carl can get for us. Motion.
That bill number, by the way, for the record, H915.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
All in favor? Let's see.
Oh, I support it.
Aye from Wes.
Great. Olivia, sorry. Tara?
This is Olivia. I'm a yes.
Supported. Yes.
Yes, Tara, have you voted?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
And
so.
Jerry, your vote?
And this bill has not been heard yet.
So I don't have to use my poor math skills or rely on Andrea's math skills, that motion passes unanimously to write a new letter of support in favor of the new bill for accessible trails for all, which would create, a funding source for it. Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is, does anyone have any new business that they'd like to discuss? Andrea, I'm going to rely on your eyes again.
I am
I
not.
heard you're not relying on my eye, Jerry.
This is Andrea. I don't see any hands, Zoom hands, or questions in the chat.
Great. Next on the agenda is public input. I know our meeting time is getting short, but we do want to leave an opportunity for the public to participate in the meeting. Again, Andrea, do we see any members of the public?
This is Andrea. We do have one member folks may have seen. He's a fellow City of Boston staff member, but attending in his personal position, as he has been for several months. So welcome, Sean. But I'm not seeing any questions from Sean in the chat.
Okay, great. And so next on the agenda, and glad Carl is here. Would you like to make your motion, Carl?
I would love to. I want to go eat dinner. I make a motion to adjourn.
Any seconds?
This is Paul, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And that passes again with a resounding yes. So again, I don't have to rely on my poor math skills. So that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone for attending.
Recording stopped.